Hey, welcome everybody to Pro Mindset Podcast. This is your host, Craig Domann. Today, I've got another European guest. This young lady, Céleste Mordenti, is a world-level elite gymnast, and I want to welcome you to Pro Mindset.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so why don't you give your credentials, like your biggest win, biggest international win?
My biggest international win was about a year ago. I won a bronze medal on uneven bars at a World Cup, and it was the first ever medal for Luxembourg, which is the country I represent and I come from. It was really, it was amazing. It was a crazy feeling.
What is the population and size of Luxembourg? We talked off air that Luxembourg is a little bit north of Germany, and it's much smaller. What is the population of the country?
We have under 1 million inhabitants.
Wow. Under 1 million. Wow. So you winning a medal in a world championship, it is a big deal. That's super dope.
No, it was not a World Championships. It was a World Cup, which is quite different. It differs, of course, per sports. But in gymnastics, the World Championships is once per year, and there are several World Cups every year. So if you win a World Championships, then you're a world champion. But if you win a World Cup, then you just win that World Cup stage. It's the level is not as high as at a World Championships.
I got it.
It's still a world event.
Okay, it's a world event. But let me ask something, because I'm sure there's a lot of listeners that also are curious. Not every country gets to be represented in the Olympics in every sport, and there's a certain level that you have to meet. I know you're dealing with the foot injury. We talked about that, but what is the probability of you getting into the Olympics with your country, given the magnitude of just how FIFA works and how the gymnastics world works? What's the possibilities?
Well, there's a limited amount of spots for gymnasts, or for every sports, to go to the Olympics. So there's a qualifying procedure. And for me as an individual athlete, because we don't have a team from Luxembourg, I need to qualify as an individual athlete. And that is mostly through the World Championships the year prior to the Olympics. And there you need to rank among the so many first individuals to get an Olympic spot.
Okay. So if you don't make the Olympics this time, are you going to age out, or can you continue to do this? Or do you have a goal or dream of continuing to do this to try to hit the next Olympics?
Well, of course, the Olympics has become a dream that has become more realistic over the past years. But when I was young, I never thought I would ever get as far as I am now. So to be honest, I'm really doing gymnastics because I really enjoy it, because it's really fun to me, and I really like just progressing. I'm actually really proud of the progress I've made over the past years, and that has really motivated me to keep going. So I think regardless of the Olympics, I think that's also a big motivation for me to keep going, and qualifying to the Olympics would make it even more special, I think.
Absolutely. Okay, this is going to sound like a weird question, but hang with me. Most athletes have a gap between where they're at, and you probably had that for a long time, where it's like you wanted to get in these World Cup events, you want to get into the World Championships, you want to place, you want to build your reputation and be able to compete with the world's best. But when you hit that already, when you've arrived, what is the motivation to continue to get better, to continue to compete and advance in your sport when you've already outperformed the dream that you had when you perhaps started the sport?
That's a good question. I think the gap that you were just talking about is still there, because I've reached more things than I imagined, but now I can think further. So there's still more to reach, So I think that gap is still existing. But then what also motivates me, what I talked about before, is that just exactly because I've reached those things now, I can look back and say, okay, I've achieved things and that I didn't think I could do, and now when I think further, I think, okay, maybe I can do more. So it's motivating to keep going.
So what I call that is moving the finish line. When you move the finish line, every time you accomplish something, you increase your dreams and your goals so that you have a gap again. And
that's a nice way to put it.
Right? So you always have a gap, because every time you kill it and do great, you raise it, and it's never good enough, and you want to do more, right? So, okay. As we talked off air, I've had several people in the gymnastics world as guests over the years. And one thing that I find with gymnasts is how fragile the confidence is and how, a young lady or a young man can show up for an event, game on, locked in, confident, healthy, all these things. And then one little thing goes wrong. And all of a sudden it's like a domino effect. How do you build your confidence and how do you protect your confidence?
Yeah, I think building confidence is a really important thing in gymnastics. It has been something that I've really been learning over the past years to, first of all, build confidence for the skills that I'm doing, and then also even further build confidence for competitions specifically. So yeah, it's really... Yeah, it has taken a lot of work because I've struggled with finding that confidence. I've had a lot of issues with mental blocks in the past. So that has been a lot of work to find that confidence, and still is a lot of work to continue finding that confidence because you can always build more confidence, right? If you already feel confident with something, you can still feel more confident by training it and by repeating it and by training, basically. And
let me interject and ask another question. What is your definition, or how do you view belief in yourself compared to confidence in what you do?
Okay, that's an interesting question. I think confidence is maybe more the feeling that you have when you perform or when you compete, and belief is more maybe the thoughts that go through your head, and maybe more the self-talk, whether you think you can achieve something or not.
Okay. Can I give you my perspective on that? I think belief is equated to how much you love yourself and how much you believe in yourself and how much you like yourself and how much you can allow yourself to be successful in whatever you do, in your case, gymnastics. I think confidence is something that you have. It's a feeling. It's also an opinion. It's a vibe that you have about what you do. So you may feel really good on one of your gymnastics events. You got 4 events that ladies do, and maybe not as confident on another one. And the more success you have, the higher your confidence goes. The more the media talks about you, the more confidence you have. The more the coach changes how he or she talks to you, your confidence goes up. But the belief in who you are, young lady, is a choice that you have to make every day. Are you going to buy you? Are you going to invest in you? Are you going to double down in you? Because nobody else is going to. So I believe that even the best of the best of the best. Okay. Mary Lou Retton back in the day, all these, U.S. has had some tremendous success in U.S. girls gymnastics, women's gymnastics. It's who they are, not what they do. And what they do is a manifestation of who they are. It's a reflection of who they are. And so your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting perspective. I've not heard it like this before, but it sounds really, really logical. I mean, what you do is really a reflection of who you are and who you want to be also. I think that's really interesting. And maybe in gymnastics, you can see it even more because of the performance that we give in all our routines. So I think that's a really nice point of view.
Well, think back to the time when you did the best. You had to be confident in what you were doing, and you also had to believe in you and believe that this was for you and believe that you were worthy of this. That was disconnected from the confidence, but they are connected. They are kind of related. So I mean, this is crazy, but NFL guys, football guys, it's more about who they are than their confidence. Because there's some dudes, when they just know they're the dude, they believe in themselves, they just find a way. And so for gymnasts, especially you guys do balance beam. I couldn't do the balance beam. I couldn't do the balance beam if the balance beam was on the floor. Okay. I mean, 4 inches, right? 4 inches?
It's 10 centimeters. So yeah, I guess that's 4 inches.
I think it's 2.2 centimeters per inch. So it's maybe a tad bit more than 4 inches, but that's crazy.
It is.
You gotta believe in who you are as a young lady and as a person, because when you wobble, what happens to a lot of people when they wobble? They wobble again or they fall. Can you, I mean, almost like the self-talk, say, that's not who I am. Yeah, I wobbled. That's not who I am. And get back on track. What is the biggest confidence buster threat? What's the biggest confidence threat for you when you're in a competition? You've gotten off the bus, you came from the hotel, you're at the arena, you're warming up, The other girls are doing the same thing. What is the thing that you struggle with confidence in that moment?
I think the confidence on a competition really depends on the preparation to that competition also. But if I'm well prepared, then, even if the warm-up doesn't go as planned, or if there's some small issues, then usually I would not, I would stay on the track, I would not really lose confidence if I'm well prepared. But if I'm, if there's some other issue, like some, a small injury that happened before that happened to me a short time ago, and that was kind of destabilizing, I would say. And from that, I kind of lacked a bit of confidence during the competition, and that impacted my gymnastics. So kind of not feeling that your body is fully with you. That's kind of maybe impacting confidence.
Okay, I'm going to share with you my P5 system that athletes use to maximize their confidence. First one is preparation. And you know what that is, The second one is practice, and making sure that you practice every day like it's a meet, every day like there's an audience, every day where the next 6 girls that are going to go are higher rated than you are, so that you have to practice not letting that affect your performance. And you have to practice in event-like conditions. I mean, I'm from how I dress to how I warm up to how I show up. It's going to be just like I'm going to do it in the meet or in the competition. So when I go in the competition, it's the same as I always do it. The next one is the other P is pit crew. Pit crew are your people, and it's making sure you're utilizing your pit crew. Whether it's your medical team, whether it's your psychological team, your emotional team, whether it's your family, whether it's your life partner, if you have one, those kind of things. The next one is visualization, which is preview. You need to, the athletes that do the best have already done what they're going to do in their mind before they do it in the arena. Every time they've visualized themselves doing it the way they want to do it. So then when they get in the competition, they're just doing what they saw themselves already do. It's not like, oh my God, how's my landing going to be? No, you do it perfectly. And the last one is your process. And that's everything else that matters. Your sleep, your nutrition, your stretching, all that kind of stuff. So hang on just one second. Okay. I missed it. Shoot. Sorry about that. I'm going to mark that down so Jose can do that at 1650. Okay. Next question. What do you think in your mind during an event, during one of your routines? Is your mind blank? Is your mind, is it, like I know from coaching gymnasts, you guys are very methodical in how you do your routines. Methodical. It's like there's not a lot of free flow in some of this stuff because it's one thing after another. You got to do it perfectly. And to me, that creates a lot of rigidity from the standpoint of, holy smokes, I got to just relax. Like the floor exercise allows you to relax, but the beam, holy smokes, how can you relax? So what's going on what's your self-talk?
It depends on the apparatus. To be honest, I have kind of a different thoughts depending on which event I compete on. But usually I just have some specific things that I think of at specific moments during my routines. So for example on vault, which is really fast, but still it's so fast and so much is happening in so little time. So during the run, I usually count my steps in my head. So then that's the thing I'm focusing on when I run, so that I don't get distracted by anything else, and that I have this routine of getting regularity into the run. Because then once you arrive at the table, then everything happens so fast. So you really need to be focused. So yeah, that's on vault. And then on floor, you've got your floor music. So what I do on floor is that I usually just go with the music. I'm not a very musical person, but it like kind of carries you through the routine. So that kind of, for me, makes floor easier to maintain focus than beam, for example, where you don't have the music, because on beam it's quite long. So it's 1.5 minutes, but it gives you a lot of time to think in between your acrobatic elements. So there I try to really have those key points where I focus on the skill that I'm about to do. But still, I think beam is the hardest to manage your thoughts, I would say. And then bars is more, I'm able to more stay in the flow because it's really just one after the other and it's kind of just flows, I guess. So I find that a bit easier compared to other apparatus.
Okay. I've never competed in a gymnastics event in my life.
Okay.
But I got to ask you, why don't you flow in all of them?
That's the goal, right? That's what you want to achieve. But some events are harder than others to achieve that flow that you kind of wish to have. So
okay, so when you run and you count the steps, you can't flow because you're counting steps. Why couldn't you? How many? Like you probably only practice 2 or 3 times before a meet. Just kidding. You probably practice hundreds of times. Hundreds. How many times do you think you've done the vault in your life?
I have no idea.
4,000? More? Less?
Yeah, something like that, I guess.
How many years you been doing this?
Gymnastics? Basically my whole life, but vault, I guess. I don't know. This vault I've been doing for 5 years now, I think.
Okay. So you got 5 years worth of work put in. You've done it thousands of times.
Yes.
We don't know how many. Do you take the same amount of steps every single time?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm challenging you.
I see.
We have never competed in the vault. And I certainly don't have the credentials to coach somebody in the vault, but I have a lot of credentials to coach people on flow. And so my question is, how can you turn those? How many steps is it typically?
I do 8.
You do 8 steps. Okay. So have you ever timed yourself how long that takes? Is that like 2 seconds, 3 seconds?
Yeah, something like that. 3, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 4
okay.
seconds.
So I'm going to challenge you sometime to don't count your steps because you're going to do them automatically anyway. And to have something in your mind that is flowing and confident. Now, if you don't call me, if you crash on the vault because you try this, okay? I don't want to get you injured.
No,
I don't want to get in trouble. But I'm telling you, if it's the same number of steps every time, and it's pretty much the same amount of time within just a little bit difference. It's like, I got this, whatever self-talk you tell yourself where you're a badass. You're the best because your body is on autopilot. It already knows what to do. Once you hit the vault, you cannot plan. It happens and you're on autopilot. Fair? It's like, you just do it. The running should be the same. You should just do it.
Yes. I mean, it will definitely be the same if I don't count my steps, but I just do it because it's kind of, I don't know, it's the way that
flow? I mean, it might be your flow. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it is.
It might be. So I'm just challenging you because you were talking about the bars being the easiest because it's so flowing and moving, and it's like you got to turn everything else and make it like the bars.
That would be great.
Right? And that way, because you're not like wondering how many steps you should take. Hopefully you're not having a conversation in your head that I took too many steps. No, you're going full speed. Do you ever not go full speed when you do the vault? Do you go half speed ever? Heck no. You go as fast as you can. Now, the fast as you can be different on different days because you might have different levels of energy, but your flow should start before you flinch a muscle, before you even start in your vault. Your flow should start. The same flow that you have when you're going in the air and you're out of control, but you're in control. We think you're out of control, but you're in control. And I would land on my head and you're landing on your feet. Okay. Does that make any sense or am I crazy? Because if I'm crazy, I'm okay with that.
No, it does make sense. But the fact that I'm counting my steps doesn't mean that I'm trying to distract myself from being in the flow, because I'm still trying, before I go on every event, I still try to find that good feeling, what I call it, a good feeling about what I'm about to do, but that might be what you mean with in the flow,
And good feeling is also confidence.
Absolutely.
Right? I'm sure there's been some times when you were doing the vault and you're not feeling really good about it, not feeling confident about it. And normally it's a self-fulfilling thing. If you don't feel confident, you don't do well. And if you do feel confident, most of the time you do well. So so I know gymnastics coaches take these 4 events and they make them 4 different events. What I'm suggesting, I'm just challenging you. I'm not saying you should do this. I'm just think about it. They're all the same. Your body's doing different things. There's no question. The skills required, totally different. Probably the beam is the most technical. I mean, it's technical. You can get hurt if you don't do this technical. So everything is taught technical, but the best of the best are in the flow and their body already knows what to do. And if you think you drive a car, okay. When you drive a car, do you think about how you're turning the steering wheel or how your foot is pushing on the pedal or the brake?
Usually not.
Autopilot. In fact, you could go to the grocery store and drive home and you're not even thinking about how to get home because once you come to an intersection, you know to turn right or left. It's autopilot. So what I'm trying to bring to light is the concept that once you put in the work, once you put in the training, which you've done, your body knows what to do. The question is, will your mind allow it to be great? And the answer is sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. And when you're in the flow, it has a better probability of being great. Share with our audience your biggest disappointment in the sport and how you responded to that. What was your challenge in responding to your biggest disappointment?
My biggest disappointment? I'm not sure if you can call it disappointment, but definitely challenge was a few years back when I struggled a lot with mental blocks. That was a very hard time because it was quite heavy. I would not be able or have confidence to do skills that I would usually do. So that was very frustrating, very challenging. That was very hard. And yeah, how I came back from that to where I'm today is really first accepting that it was the way it was. That was a very important first step. And then also go back to the basics, to the foundations, to the things that I am confident, that I was confident with at that moment, and build confidence from there to really have this inner feeling that you are in control and that you are really building this confidence for yourself and that you really trust what you're doing. That was a long process, and it's a process that is still going today, still building more and more confidence. So yeah, I guess that was the biggest challenge.
Dig a little bit deeper. Give an example of a competition where you had a mental block, you lacked confidence, and how'd that show up? Did you withdraw? Did you, how did it show up? Did you not do what you were planning? Like in a floor exercise, you didn't do everything you were you were supposed to do that was in the routine because you didn't have confidence about one of the jumps. Go and tell us that.
So it was not in a competition. It never happened to me in a competition. So I've struggled with mental blocks also years before that. And usually how that would be is that I would be afraid in training to do things, but eventually I would kind of force myself to do it, and somehow it usually managed to. And then building towards competitions, I really had this goal that I needed to do exactly this routine at a competition. And so I built it up towards certain competitions, and I was able to present those routines in a high stress because when you're in stress, you just go, you know. So in competitions, I was not thinking of not doing things. I was just going, but usually then the mental blocks would get a bit more serious after competition. So I would need to build up again. And how it was in that period where it was a bit heavier, those mental blocks, I didn't do competitions in that period. And I was preparing for a competition a bit later. And yeah, how I did that then is also just really, focus on this competition and kind of really build it up, I guess, a bit with the stress. But that was also every time it was just a temporary fix, I guess, because it was never finding that true confidence. It was really just, for that one moment, just go. So after that, I really took it from the beginning and built that confidence again.
Lack of confidence was your mental block. Was there anything else?
What do you mean exactly?
Well, you said you were dealing with mental blocks, plural. And my question is, was it only a lack of confidence or was it something else?
I think it was also maybe stress just in general, and also this thought that you need to be perfect, because in gymnastics, I mean, it's the goal to be perfect, but it's not really possible to be perfect. So also that kind of translates to training as well, that you want every turn to be perfect and that you don't allow yourself to make mistakes or to, I don't know. Yeah, that you don't allow yourself to make mistakes. And that kind of leads to stress, because needing to be perfect every time is very stressful and not possible, actually. So I think that was also part of maybe being afraid to do certain things.
Okay. So I've identified 4 confidence busters. They bust your confidence. They destroy your confidence. 4 things: perfection, comparison, scoreboard watching, and desperation. Let's talk about each one of them. Perfection is you're focusing on the gap. Instead of focusing on being your best, you're focusing on what you should do, or what you could do, or what you need to do. So is that an inside conversation with yourself or an outside conversation? That's an outside conversation, because you're looking at something you should do instead of just being it and doing it. Okay. So I talk about mentally, you play an inside game or an outside game. When you play an inside game, it's you, and you can be fully confident. But anytime you start playing an outside game, it hurts your confidence. It just can come in different flavors. And that's when you're looking at your circumstances. You're looking at all these things. And so now let's go to the next one, which is comparison, outside game. You're seeing how you're doing to some person that maybe you used to be better than. Now she's better than you in this one thing. So all your brain is doing is like, how did she get better? I used to be better than her. Comparison. Okay. You also can compare yourself from meet to meet, competition to competition. Dadgummit, I did it last time. Why can't I do it this time? So comparison's bad deal. Bad deal. The next one is scoreboard watching. And that is like keeping track of what the judges think, and start calculating in your mind what you need to do to make the Olympics, to medal, to beat your personal best. Every time an athlete, especially gymnasts, start thinking about those thoughts, that's an outside game again. It destroys your confidence, because it also puts pressure and stress and anxiety in your mind. And the last thing that kills confidence is desperation. Desperation shows up. This is the last one. This is your second vault. Last one. This is you're it. And you're done. All of a sudden you feel this pressure, like, crap, I got to do it this time. So my suggestion, for what it's worth, is to understand that there are confidence attackers. And there's probably more, but those are the 4 that I've identified. And perfection is, for high achieving people, it's always there. And once they master perfection, meaning they don't let perfection in their mind, they go straight to comparison. And then when they overcome that shit, let's look at the score. How am I doing? And if they can survive that, there's always in every meet going to be the last one. So it's like, you're killing it. You're doing great. Last one. Your coach says, hey man, if you can do this, man, you're going to medal. You're going to this, whatever. Desperation. So how does that resonate? Does that make sense?
It does make a lot of sense.
Okay. Is there anything else that you feel like attacks your confidence?
I think those 4, include almost everything.
Yeah, that's pretty inclusive.
Yeah.
But perfection is a huge one. I mean, so many high achieving people, I've been there. You just want to be perfect, and we're not going to be perfect, Let's talk about, may I share with you how I coach people to block out the confidence busters? Okay. We talked a second offline about performance bubbles. And when you create a performance bubble, it's a mental headspace that's a safe zone where everything that's for you is in your mind and in your bubble. And any of this stuff like lack of confidence, what happened last time, what your mom said, what your coach said, what a competitor said, what a competitor did, none of that stuff gets to come in. It's almost like you have a meet with 30 other girls, but you in your mind, you're the only one there. Everybody's there to see you, and what they do doesn't matter, because your goal is to be your best. It's not to win. It's to be your best. And you create boundaries of things that don't get to come in that bubble. And you make sure that you have belief in yourself, confidence in what you do inside that bubble. Love yourself is inside that bubble. All the P5 work you've done, preparation, practice, preview, pit crew, and that gets to come in. Man, you were dedicated. You were on it for like the last 3 weeks leading up to the meet or to the competition, where you ate clean. You got more sleep than you needed. You were so dialed in. You visualized yourself over and over and over again, killing it. That gets to come in your bubble. Now you're in the competition and you're killing it because you're doing your best, because you don't let all this perfection and stuff affect you. Noise, expectations, outcomes don't get to come in. None of that stuff gets to come in. Then all of a sudden, right before you step up on the track to do the vault. Something happens and your bubble is burst. You think of me because you're like, this dude told me not to count my steps. Screw him. I'm going to count my steps. Your bubble is burst. So how do you recover? With breath. You take 3 deep breaths and your bubble's back. If you don't take 3 deep breaths, you'll be a victim of a corrupted bubble. Thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, I mean, you suggest to focus on breath in certain situations where you feel like you're a bit going out of your flow. I think that's a very, very good thing to do. I think I've done that also, and it really helps to get the focus back on yourself, to really, I mean, feel where you are, feel really close to yourself again, and focus on what you're supposed to do. I think your breath is something very valuable that you can rely on.
Well, one of the things I see with gymnasts is they have, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 90 seconds. Is the floor exercise 90 seconds? Something like that?
Yes.
Okay. So they've got these limited periods of time where they got to be on. And then the rest of the time they're cheering for their teammates, they're chilling. So the best way to get back into your performance bubble is to breathe before you go. Because you can't be in your performance bubble all the time. It's impossible. You might put on some music and it reminds you of some ex-boyfriend. And it's like, holy cow, I'm supposed to be doing this and I'm thinking about this jerk. Okay. So it's like, we've got to breathe to get locked back in. Right. So how many countries have you competed in?
I don't know. Many.
You have. That's why I was asking. Ballpark it.
I don't know exactly how many.
You have no idea.
I've competed in a lot of countries in Europe. Outside of Europe, I haven't competed in a lot of countries outside of Europe.
Have you competed in the US yet?
No, I've never been to the US.
Never been to the US.
No.
A lot of crazy dudes like me over here. Okay. All right. When you were like a 7-year-old and maybe 8, maybe 9, and you were at school and the teacher asked you, maybe this didn't happen there, but it happens in our schooling. What do you want to do when you grow up? What was your answer to that?
I never really liked that question because I never knew what to answer. I didn't know. I didn't really have a plan of what I wanted to do as a job or anything.
Not necessarily as a job.
No, and concerning,
right?
Exactly. But back then I didn't really like to achieve when I was older. I just really was focused on the gymnastics I was doing at that time, and I didn't really think ahead or something. So that just came a bit later when I realized that I could actually achieve things and set goals for myself. So that only came later. But when I was young, I didn't have those thoughts in my head.
Well, it sounds like to me you've been one track minded on gymnastics. That's been your focus, and the only way you can be great is if you are one track minded and you're focused on whatever your sport is or whatever you're trying to do. Tell us about the support that you get from your family. Mom, dad, siblings?
Yeah, I have a great family who supports me in my journey, and especially when I was younger, when I couldn't go to training alone. My mom brought me to training every day and came to pick me up. So there was a lot of hours invested in there, and I'm really thankful for that. And that they also just always supported me in all the hours that I was in the gym, because that also influenced the family planning and everything. And yeah, when I was older, when I grew older, I could go to training myself. So that was a bit more, I was a bit more autonomous in that, and they've continued to support me in everything I wanted to do, and especially, respecting all the choices that I.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
I do, but they don't do gymnastics.
Don't. They support you?
Yeah, absolutely. They do, but they are not really involved in gymnastics. And I think that's fine. I mean, you don't need to.
So just out of curiosity, what was the origin of you doing gymnastics? Was it your mom just wanting you to try it? What?
So gymnastics is one of the first sports you can do when you're young, right? Because you don't need anything. I'm not sure if you can call it gymnastics, but what I started with is when I went with my mom to like a gymnastics for fun session or something, and then you get like, I don't know, in the air and you your parent holds you up in something. And that's how it started. And from that, I went into some recreational classes, and then into a club, and then into the national team. And it kind of, just grew from there. And my mom also did gymnastics, not at a very high level, but she did. But she didn't necessarily want me to do it. But apparently I always wanted to. So that's how it went.
Okay. So I want you to share let's say there's a little girl out there that's listening. What is your advice for a young lady who is thinking about making the commitment to pursue gymnastics at the highest level? What recommendations do you have for that person?
I think one thing that is very important when you do gymnastics, it's a very demanding sport. You always want more. You always want to be perfect. You always want to be better. And sometimes it's really important to just be kind to yourself and allow yourself to make mistakes or to take a break. Remind yourself that it's okay to do that. I think that's one of the advices I would give.
Don't be a perfectionist.
Exactly.
Well, here's the funny thing about perfection. You want to be great, you have to practice, and you have to have a high standard on how you execute the skills. But then you can't beat yourself up when you don't do it perfect. And so you have to have that high standard to actually be at the level you're at. So you got to try to do it perfect. But when you don't do it perfect, you can't be, you just can't be hard on yourself.
Yeah, that's the hard balance to find, I think. Because obviously you need to want to be perfect, because that's somehow it's the goal. But on the other side, you also need to allow yourself to make mistakes and to be able to grow into that goal that you have. And even if you never reach it, it's just a matter of getting closer and closer to that.
Well, I think I would break that up into intentions and your response. So your intention should be to be perfect. You should intend to want to do it perfect. But when you don't, which we never do, how do you respond to that? And that's where the problem is. It's not in the intentions. It's in the response. So it's not like perfection's a bad word. It's just that your relationship with it after you perform should be to give yourself love and grace on how well you did do, instead of beat yourself up on what you could have did. So, well, Celeste,
absolutely.
I just looked at the clock. I want to thank you very much for being on Pro Mindset. We're taping this on a Friday night, and it's like 8:00 at night in Luxembourg in Europe. I want to thank you for being vulnerable, talking about your sport. I want to wish you the best of luck with your recovery from your foot. And I hope you go as far as you want to go in this sport.
Thank you so much. And thank you for reaching out, for contacting me to be on your podcast. It was... Hey,
it's Craig Domann, the host of Pro Mindset Podcast. I want to thank you for listening or watching today's show. And you can catch us every week on the normal social media platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and all the listening podcast platforms. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And more importantly, I hope you gained a pro mindset insight. Please be sure to rate and review Pro Mindset Podcast. And I look forward to catching up with you on our next show.